Hi, it's Sue with Awaken Steps to Health. Today's topic is the dirty dozen and organics. So, some of you may have heard about the list called the dirty dozen. These are the 12 most contaminated foods. Okay, so fruits and vegetables mostly. And then there's the clean 15, which is the ones you should try to get if you can. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about organics and why you want to do that. One thing I thought I would start out with is how to clean your vegetables and fruits, though, when you bring them in the house. So when I go grocery shopping and bring in a lot of produce, sometimes I go wild and think I'm going to cook for 2 billion people and I buy a lot at once. I like to clean it all at once so that down the road when I'm busy, I don't have to spend time doing that. So I use the Holotech products and I will put the food there and I will intend for them to be brought up to their highest possible vibration and nutritional levels. And I have Holotech products in my refrigerator as well as in my pantry cupboard as well. So I try to bring up the vibration and I also feel excitement and appreciation, which also brings up that vibration. But then I clean the vegetables and the fruit in a bowl of water with a teaspoon of baking soda. And if you want to, a splash of apple cider vinegar. So mix that up, put your things in it, and then let it soak for about 12 minutes. All right. So then all the pesticides, the dirt, the toxins theoretically are rinsed from the vegetable or the fruit. And you put the fruit in a colander, rinse it, let it dry a little bit, and then store it. Now, there's some great videos on Instagram and YouTube about how to store each type of fruit or vegetable. All right. So I will look for them, but if you're interested, go ahead and look for them as well. All right, because you want them to be stored in a way that they don't decompose. Now, we've taken the chemicals off them, we've raised the vibe of them, and we want them to be fresh, healthy, and ready to go when we're ready to eat them. All right. Now, one other thing I'm going to say about vegetables and fruits, some of them, if you buy a lot, sometimes I'll buy a little too much and then I'm like, oh, it's going to go to waste. I will chop them up and freeze them or come up with a creative way to use them. So, like, for example, if I buy too many peppers and onions or whatever, and they're on the verge of not going to be used, I might chop them all up. And I have these little dishes, or you can put them in a little baggie and freeze them and then you have enough for your next whatever omelet, whatever it might be. So I do that like rather than waste the food. All right. So if you go to the Bubble Up folder, there's a 2-page handout called the Dirty Dozen. Right. So these are fruits and vegetables, or I'm sorry, products that are the worst things that you can ingest. All right. And it gives you a description of why. All right. So the first thing is on the list is artificial sweeteners. So I don't know if everyone knows this, but of course, artificial sweeteners affect your basically your nervous system, your brain, and they make our food sweeter without the use of calories. So even if you're, let's say, watching your sugar intake because you have diabetes or you want to prevent it, if you take artificial sweeteners, believe it or not, your pancreas is going to treat them the same way it does with regular sugar. And you're going to have that blood sugar spike without the real sugar. And it can still lead to diabetes and overweight, believe it or not. All right. So diet products are kind of the worst thing ever for you. If you were posed with the problem of eating or drinking a diet soda or a regular soda, go with the regular every time. A diet whatever versus the regular, go with the regular. It's got a few less chemicals in it, even though the product may not be healthy for you, it will be less offensive. So artificial sweeteners are really bad. And even though you think you're saving calories, which you may save calories, but you're messing yourself up in far worse ways. All right, so keep those out of your body. Refined sugar. So I've done a video on sugar. Refined is the white cane sugar that most people use, table sugar for baking, cooking, or whatever they're doing. And it's really bad for you. It causes so many diseases. It causes diabetes, blood sugar spikes, insulin resistance. And of course, you're going to, gain weight over time eating sugary products. It's not good for you. It leads to addiction and cravings. Okay. So again, a lot of people think if they substitute the fake sugar, the pink, the red, or the pink or the blue sugars or whatever, that they're going to save calories, or the yellow, the Splenda. It is very unhealthy for you. And you will develop a lot of weird illnesses because of that. So please avoid the diet stuff and reduce your intake of sugar as much as you can. Monosodium glutamate, MSG. Again, we think of Chinese food when we think of MSG. It's a preservative. It is really not good for you. Now, a lot of people, when they order Chinese food, they'll ask to have it without, but it is it causes nervous system disorders. Okay. Artificial colors, huge problem. All right, think of the foods out in the supermarket. Everything is over flavored and over colored. So let's say you buy something that's raspberry flavored. It's this bright red and it tastes super sweet. But if you actually taste a raspberry, now it is a pinkish red, it's a beautiful color. It's not really a super sweet berry. It's a little tart, a little sweet. Same with a strawberry, a little tart, a little sweet, not over the top sweet. Like we're actually kind of programmed that every food that we eat is over the top sweet, colored, bright. That's not the way food really is. Okay. So artificial colors can cause all sorts of health issues. One thing I want to talk about is artificial colors in your kids. Okay, so kids are smaller and they're very susceptible to the food dyes and the preservatives and sugar in their diet. You'll notice them running around and acting up when you give them an unhealthy food. All right, so isn't it interesting that kids' drinks, kids' cereals, kids this, kids that are all bright colored, over the top, over sugared, over processed, over colored products? All right. There is a book by Mark Hyman that talks about autism. All right. So basically, he says that autism is caused by heavy metals in some of the vaccinations and other shots that the kids are given, but also what the over sugared, the over processed, and the food dyes just make that much worse. So if you can take food dyes out of your child's diet, you might notice behavioral improvement, and their mental clarity will improve, all of that there. So he basically did a study with autistic children where he showed in one of his books homework done by an autistic child, and then they took all the preservatives and food dyes, and then the homework was like night and day. It was like a crazy person had written the first homework sheet, and a child wrote the second one. So it will make a huge difference in everyone's lives. And one of the things about soda is, okay, soda's usually in a can or a bottle or whatever. It's usually browns. There's a whole bunch of food dye in it to make brown. So you've got the red food dye, which is one of the worst. Okay. And people are drinking lots and lots of soda. It messes up your nervous system. It messes up your, obviously, it's a precursor to diabetes. It can cause some brain issues. All sorts of crazy stuff can come from this. So please reduce them, I guess, is the bottom line. All right. They're going to say it way more condensed than I just did. BHA and BHT, which block the process of oil rancidity. Okay. So basically, they affect sleep and appetite, liver and kidney damage, hair loss, all sorts of problems. So these are things that you'll see in some of your products as well. All right. So have you noticed how we have crackers on the shelf or baked goods in a little saran package or whatever in the store, and they have a really long shelf life? Where if you bought an organic whatever loaf of bread, that organic loaf of bread is going to go bad in a few days. All right. Some of these things, like even a Twinkie, we'll say, can last for years in a package on the shelf. And that's not natural. We want to keep that stuff out of our body because it's got these preservatives in it. All right. So we want to be aware of that as well. You want to look at the oils that are in your products, like crackers is a big one. All right. Sodium nitrate and nitrate, basically they're, again, preservatives added to processed meat products. So think bacon, think lunch meat, all right? And they can transform into cancer-causing agents called nitrosomates in the stomach. Okay, so you might notice after you eat bacon or a lot of lunch meat, you might have headaches, nausea, stomach issues, stuff like that. That's caused by these components. In general, not good for you either. All right, caffeine, we've talked about this a couple times. It's an addictive stimulant found in soft drinks, gum, diet, pills, and pain relievers. And it naturally occurs in coffee, cacao, and tea. All right, so we want to be cognizant of the amount of caffeine we let into our body. A little is okay. We don't want addiction, but caffeine can be really bad for our body. I think we've done a video on caffeine already. Olean or Lestra. It's a calorie-free fat substitute. Causes all sorts of stomach and intestinal issues. You'll find this in like potato chips. Okay, they're putting they're frying your fried French fries or your other foods in this oil substitute. It's really not good for you. So I know I went somewhere and had the most delicious meal, and it had French fries with it, okay, which were amazing. And I ate it and I loved every bite of it. And when I got home, I had the worst stomach ache. And I was trying to decide, I don't eat a lot of fried food myself, what the issue was. And then I realized, I got an intuitive hit, that they had fried their food in a cheap oil substitute. All right. So they're not using like real oil, if you will. They're using these substitutes, which messed me up. All right. Brominated vegetable oil, BVO. It's used to keep flavor oils in soft drink in suspension. So basically, it's stored in your fat, and over time, it, it gets bad. All right. So keep all of these oils, these fake oils, out of your system. Pesticides. Okay, so pesticides, of course, we're not consciously eating them, but they're sprayed in the air on pretty much everything that we grow. That's why cleaning your fruit and vegetables thoroughly is a good thing. Now, I will be honest with you. If something's grown non-organically, yes, it's sprayed with pesticides. But what happens is the pesticide sinks into the soil and is absorbed through the root system into the plant. So even though we clean the plant, it still has pesticides in it. All right. So organic is the way to go if you can afford it. And that's why we're going to talk about the most and least contaminated food items. All right. So try to keep the pesticides at a minimum. And the last thing is GMOs. All right. So GMOs are not natural components. So we know that the scientists have created foods that, don't have seeds, or they're bug resistant, or they have a longer, a shorter growing time. They grow bigger. You fill in the blank. We've done it to the food, and that's a GMO. It is not a natural way that the food should be. All right. So do we want that in our body? No. All right. So what happens when we get these unhealthy components, non-natural components in our bodies? Okay, so we get pesticides, the food dies, the stuff that nature has not made. Now, our body is of nature, okay? It knows, I've never seen this chemical before. So what happens is it gets stored into our fat, all these weird components. And we do gain weight because we're holding onto these components. All right. So our body doesn't know what to do with them. And that's why when we do detox, all of that will come out. All right. So we want to try to avoid all of those types of problems. I'm going to read from the most and least contaminated produce sheet. And the contaminated fruits and vegetables are called the dirty dozen because there's 12 of them. And if you only had so much to spend on groceries each week and you're not purchasing, you're not growing your own food, of course, you want to put your organic dollars here. These are the 12 types of products you want to spend more money on, and I'll read them and explain why. Apples, celery, grapes, strawberry, peaches, nectarines, sweet bell peppers, potatoes, blueberries, lettuce, kale, and collard greens. All right. Think of all of these. They all have very thin skins. And so when a pesticide is sprayed onto them, the skin absorbs the pesticide and you're getting that into your body. All right. It's more contaminated. It's also probably the way the product is grown. Like potatoes, for example, they're spraying the fields over and over, growing the potatoes over and over. So the pesticides are cumulative in that field. All right. So the hierarchy of potatoes, by the way, just for nutritional benefit, is if you're going to buy a potato, get a sweet potato first because they've got a lot more fiber, a lot more nutrient. They taste good. And then red potatoes under that, and then any other kind of potato. Okay. And there's a lot of controversy about potatoes in general. They're not healthy for you. They're not, there's not this or that. Once in a while, eating a potato it's very heavy and grounding food and it makes you feel good. And I'm not talking French fry, okay? I'm talking potato. So you got to do it, but try to buy organic if you can. Any kind of berries really have thin skins, and you want to definitely clean them, but you want to buy organic when you can. All right. The least contaminated foods are called the clean 15. All right. So onions, corn, pineapples, avocado, asparagus, sweet peas, mangoes, eggplant, cantaloupe, watermelon, kiwi, cabbage, sweet potatoes, grapefruit, and mushrooms. Now think about that. These products generally have a little bit of a thicker skin, so you're peeling off the outer layers of the pesticide. So that makes it a little bit easier and better. Now, bananas is not on this list. So if I were to guess, I would put bananas, a regular banana, in the least contaminated column and not worry about it as much. Again, you're peeling off the thick skin. All right. But again, always, always wash your fruits and vegetables when you bring them into the house. And again, store them properly. Like I said, some should be in the refrigerator, some shouldn't. And there's some great videos out there of creative ways to store your fruit and vegetables. The last sheet in our bubble up folder for this particular video is called Organic Foods. It's really a bunch of reasons, 10 reasons why you should buy organic. All right. And again, most of us don't have an abundance of extra funds for groceries. So put your money where the dirty dozen, the 12 contaminated foods are. All right. The top 10 reasons not to buy or to buy organic foods, okay, whoop, is because of the pesticides in the product, okay? What happens is because it's not natural, all the pesticides go into our body and they're stored in fat. And then who knows what happens from there? All right. We don't know. right? It can't be a good thing. So if you buy organic, you're supporting small farmers that are not subsidized by the government. All right. And these small farmers are using less water and less energy to create their product for you. So that's a savings for the earth. Um, it is also way healthier for you not to have any extra things into your product. All right. So I hope that this video kind of gave you a little bit of an overview of why to buy organic and what fruits and vegetables are best for you, organic wise. All right. Not nutrition wise, organic wise. Thanks so much for watching.